show me a single video of any US politician ever doing anything remotely similar to what Elon did. That's all I would want to see. Just one time. Just one run of that. I would be curious if there was a single link of this ever happening. This is so fucking weird. This is one angle. This is him sending love out to people. Like, why? Like, how? It's just so fucking weird. It's so fucking weird. Sorry I'm late. Is Elon a Nazi or just memeing or autistic? My personal feeling on this is, he even tucked his thumb in. Yeah. My personal feeling on this is that Elon knows what he's doing, but he's not actually a Nazi, but he's doing it to show that he's like cool with that crowd of people and then to troll the media a little bit. But that's almost as bad as just being a Nazi. Like,
there's value to a culture. I think there is value to a culture. And we don't want Japan to disappear. We don't want Italy as a culture to disappear. We don't want France as a culture to disappear. I think we have to maintain the sort of reasonable cultural identity of the various countries. Or they simply will not be those countries.
One thing that's also really painful too, and I have to figure out how to navigate this. Dude, it's so hard. It's not fun. I don't like it. I don't like it because so much of like me talking about stuff or so much of me navigating political spaces on the internet is just figuring out like how many people actually believe this versus how many are just trolls versus how many are bots versus how many people are actually genuinely confused. One of the frustrating things, so like that Sam Hyde video, for instance, that Sam Hyde video was just a full on 100% like love letter to neo-Nazism. Like was like in every way, size, shape, or form. Like there's so many, I don't even want to call it dog whistles. Like it was just like overt, blatant stuff. And now you don't want to fall into the trap of like over recognizing dog whistles. Did you watch the second Sam Hyde video? I have not. You don't want to run into the trap. Do you remember there was a time several years ago, I think it was around the Rittenhouse time, where every time somebody did this, people were like, Nazi, it's a Nazi, it's a Nazi, it's a Nazi. And it's like, okay, this is getting kind of silly. But
I think there is.
I spent so much time debating these people like 10 years ago, 8 years ago, that I'm so familiar with the culture. I don't know how much, maybe it's changed a lot, probably not, but
I think there is value to a culture. And we don't want Japan to disappear. We don't want Italy as a culture to disappear. We don't want France as a culture to disappear. I think we have to maintain the sort of reasonable cultural identity of the various countries. Or they simply will not be those countries. Italy is the people of Italy. The buildings are there, but really, what is Italy? Italy is the people of Italy. Yeah.
Like another thing too that you have to, and even my audience is not good at this. I don't know how to make you guys good at this. You have to be able to separate out like people that are just racist from people that are like neo-Nazis. I wish there was a different name for it, because when I say neo-Nazi, I know that a lot of people either turn their brain off or just don't think about it anymore. Neo-Nazis don't have to be in a lot of the typical ways like racist at all. Like there are a lot of neo-Nazis that can be totally cool having, black friends and Jewish, well, maybe not Jewish, maybe Jewish friends if they're self-hating Jews, or Indian friends or whatever. They can have friends of all different races. They can appreciate other cultures. They can appreciate other peoples. They can appreciate so much. Like neo-Nazis are not just like white trash racist people. It's not the same thing. It's a like neo-Nazism is a whole ass ideology. I wouldn't even go as far as to say, some people might take issue with this. I'm not a scholar on this. So this is my personal feeling. I wouldn't even say neo-Nazis are like white supremacists. I would say that white supremacists are different and dumber. It's like a different thing, white supremacy versus like neo-Nazi stuff. yeah, maybe ethno-nationalist might be better, although that gets a little bit hairy because how you even define ethnicity, like theoretically, I might be an ethno-nationalist if you say like, well, the ethnicity of an American is a person who shares like democratic values and blah, blah, blah. That whatever an ethnicity is can get like really complicated for a variety of reasons. I don't know. But people that are neo-Nazis will say things like this, but like racists and white supremacists won't say things like this. Like a racist will say, we don't want any of them browns, any of them darkies in our country. They're savages, right? And then a white supremacist might say, we don't want Indians or black people like tearing our country down. Like America should be for white people because we need to take care of our own and these people make us worse. But a neo-Nazi, and this is so important to understand because I'm really scared that we've either already crossed this threshold or we're prepared to cross a threshold. A neo-Nazi will say, like, Indian culture is beautiful and unique, and different African cultures can be beautiful and unique, and they might even be able to make our country better economically in some ways. However, America should be for white people. India should be for Indian people. Japan should be for Japanese people, and we can enjoy our stuff via free trade or via the internet, and that's fine. But every country should have their own people and their own culture that's defined by the people of that country, because culture is a phenotype. It's a thing that emerges from a genotype. It emerges from an ethnic shared ancestry.
You said you're 100% sure that Sam Hyde is a neo-Nazi. Mm-hmm. What is the evidence you have for this claim? People can assimilate, and that's one of the best things about America. That's why I'm for immigration.
He would never agree with that. And
really?
No Nazi would. Correct.
It would be a lot easier if an American was just an Indian with an Ivy League degree. If you could just wave your hand and say that an American is a Guatemalan who was born here, that's an American. We wouldn't have to have this painful conversation. It would be so easy. That's Marvel movie shit. She's an American. She's here for the American dream. That's not reality.
He's making fun of the position that you're trying to give. He's satirizing people like you. You think it has to do with culture. He's not. He's talking about genotype. Genetically, there's something different.
If you don't have high in-group loyalty, you get eliminated. Genetically doomed.
Yeah.
Trees favor other trees that are more genetically similar to them than trees that are not. It's just the way of nature. And white people, I think...
Notice how he's talking genetics, trees, genes. None of this is cultural.
You should watch more Jordan Peterson. Be less ignorant.
Why does it have to be to kill Jews? It could just be...
That's what the Nazis did. This is why I, on principle, will not call anyone a Nazi.
He's killed them as the final solution. There were other solutions before the final solution. That was the last part of the plan. And so necessarily, if you outbreed all of the native Italians or native Frenchmen or native Americans, who they say are like Anglo-Saxons or white European descendants, whatever the that means, which changes every decade, you're losing something there. So like the neo-Nazi stuff is a lot different than just racism or white supremacy. And if you mix those two things up, you're going to constantly get into traps where you're accusing somebody of being a neo-Nazi, or you're accusing somebody of being like a racist or white supremacist, and they're not really. And they really won't even be. And I do believe that for a decent chunk of them, they won't be racist, and they won't even necessarily be white supremacist. They're just saying that like everybody needs a country for their own people, so why can't white people have that? And you have to be ready to take that argument like on as it exists, because it's different. It's a lot different. Like what Elon says here, you can never attack from a white supremacist or a racist standpoint, but it does jive hardcore with neo-Nazi sentiment. Now, I don't know if he said more stuff. I don't know if I even want to know, but yeah. I feel like when they say culture, it's a dog whistle, because most people, e.g. in the UK, feel non-white people can uphold British culture, but neo-Nazis never do it if you push them. It depends on how sophisticated the neo-Nazi you're talking to is. What a neo-Nazi will say is that brown people, first generation, second generation, maybe can uphold English culture, maybe for a little bit, but they're being forced to do it. Anybody can be forced to uphold something, but they'll have a whole bunch of like genetic studies, and they'll have a whole bunch of like behavioral data where they'll say there's a concept they'll call it like return to the mean, that sure, maybe a first or second generation immigrant can uphold British customs, but by the third or fourth generation, those genetic proclivities are going to come through in the grandchildren and in the great-grandchildren. And those great-great-grandchildren, those great-great Indian grandchildren are not going to be British in the same way that a Johnson or a Smith or whatever the British names, or Spencer or whatever, are going to be English. It's not going to be the same, and they're going to revert to the mean of wherever it is they came from. There's a reason why those countries look that way, and we don't want Britain to look